Right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. So, I'm going to be addressing of what's turning into an elephant in the room when it comes to this, and that is, Jack, why do you still support this game? Why are you still here? Why are you still making content on it? Why are you still grinding the game, etc., etc., etc.? And I wanted to address that, and I wanted to go in deep because I feel like you guys know that Batman comic to where all the members of the Justice League are pretty much dead and Batman's the only one standing. If I find a picture of it, which I probably will, and I'll probably put it in this video, I kind of feel like that. I kind of feel like Batman because I'm starting to notice that even the most dedicated Splitgate 2 players, people who love the game and did play it are starting to drop off. They're not playing it anymore for reasons of their own, which it is what it is. People have their own reasons of why they're going to stop playing a game. Maybe a new game comes out, maybe they're just frustrated with it for whatever reason, or whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the end result is the same. People are dropping off, including those that absolutely love the game. As a matter of fact, I've get people in my comment section that say, hey, I put down this game a few weeks ago, but I still come by to see what you have to say on the channel, which, by the way, shout out to you guys. I really, really appreciate that. Which is a good sign as well, because people have this game on the back of their mind in terms of awaiting to see what happens with this game. And ultimately, it's basically it's a combination of things of why I am still here as far as support of Splitgate is concerned. And I'll tell you a couple reasons. Number one, I enjoy playing this game. I think, for me personally, I think this is one of the best first-person shooters that I've ever played, period. I love the movement mechanics. I love the sliding. I love the way the gunplay is. I love the fact that the game is also simple, but at the same time, it can be complicated if you immerse yourself in it enough. I like the fact that there's a skill gap. The fact that there's Black Ops 3 jetpacks in there. The smoothness of the Titanfall, the Titanfall sliding, the time to kill being what it is, and the way the weapons work, etc., etc. The fact that this game has literally parts of the DNA from different multiplayer first-person shooters that I grew to love over the years, I think is great. And the fact that it kind of, brings the arena shooter into play in the year 2025 is something that's appealing to me. It's not like a traditional arena shooter, because if it was more of a traditional arena shooter, you wouldn't have things like classes and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And you'd have to pick up all your weapons and your health around the map and stuff like that. But when you're looking at it from a gameplay standpoint, if you remove all those things that this game has in it, that it's modernized, it is at its core an arena shooter, a different flavor of an arena shooter. And for someone like me who appreciates arena shooters and always has, I appreciate that, right? And this game, just from a gameplay perspective, hits all the bells and whistles for me personally. I know for a lot of people it doesn't, but I guess I'm old. I'm almost 41. And I guess I'm old. I guess it's the fact that there are certain aspects of my gaming preferences that have never left me, in terms of the type of game I enjoy, as well as the elements that are in it, and the fact that, I started playing video games at a time to where there was no progression system, or no other reason other than the fun factor to continue playing, right? So for me, it's the game's mechanics and how the game feels and how satisfying it is to get in an engagement that ultimately, is the determining factor for me personally in terms of, will I continue to play this game or not? Even if I struggle, you have to, I call it enjoying the struggle, right? Like, for instance, let's say you have a hard time aiming in the game, but the game is really fun to play, and getting a kill when you eventually do get your kill is so satisfying to the point to where you want to figure out how to make yourself better. And because it's so fun, and because you're getting that dopamine rush, it's like, okay, how can I continue to improve, right? So that for me is what does it. You know what I mean? It's got to be the combination of the skill gap that's not too crazy wide to where it's nearly unattainable, but just wide enough to where there is a difference, which this game has, as well as the gunplay, addictive factor, which this game has. Now, not everybody will agree with me on that, but it is what it is. Again, I guess I'm old. You know what I mean? So the fact that this game combines so many different elements of these things, as well as the mentality of the past, is really great. I have kind of a sense of pride in the fact that, to a certain degree, of the fact that a lot of people are complaining about this game because a lot of players are getting their asses handed to them. I kind of have a sense of pride into where it's like, hey, I'm still here, I'm still standing. And this is coming from a player that's playing this game traditionally. I mean, I'm not using portals, and one of the reasons why I'm not is because, well, when you're not portaling, you're not doing all the other things that the game gives you access to, like I said, like the sliding, the jetpack movement and stuff like that. plus, turning on somebody that's trying to portal behind you and getting the kill as they exit their portal is really, really satisfying when that does happen. So, but yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to the portaling, in my humble opinion. Maybe that's another video in and of itself. But with that being said, this game has all of the foundations that I've ever wanted in a first-person shooter, and it just really it's very satisfying for me personally. And the fact that the devs that are developing this game are actually human beings and not AI is also a plus. And the fact that they're being transparent and communicating and working their asses off to do the best that they can in the predicament that they're currently in right now is something that I also admire, because, we're on the outside looking in. Most of us have no idea from a firsthand perspective, what really goes into and the amount of stress that goes into making a game, updating a game, getting a new patch out in time, testing it, et cetera, et cetera. Like, all these different games are a really big stress sandwich. So, it's tough. Being a game developer is absolutely tough, and it's very time consuming. You got so many devs out there that are working holidays, weekends, putting in ridiculous amount of hours. And word has it, and I don't know how true this is or not, but word has it that there have been additional devs that have quit because, and my assumption as to why is because the pressure is just too damn high, in terms of where Splitgate 2 is right now, and and so much work that needs to be put in the game to, to make it optimize as fast as possible, to add in all these extra features as fast as possible, and everything that the community's been saying. And on top of that, you got people online all over the place that are hating on this game, despite the fact that these devs are trying the best that they can to be as community friendly as possible and appease the community in a free to play shooter, by the way, and you got a portion of the community that's just, ungrateful, impatient, and all that kind of stuff. The devs really are in a rock and a hard place situation, when you look at it from every single angle, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's like, it's impossible to please everybody, no matter how much you try, right? And I just happen to be one of those rare people that, even outside of content creation, I am still hoping for a happy ending with this game. I am still hoping for the fact that this game could make a comeback, right? It's not impossible. I mean, when you look at the numbers, it's unlikely, but at the same time, it's still possible. So until the game actually stops getting developer support, it's not fully dead, or unless, if Ian, it's always on the back of my mind, by the way. It's always on the back of my mind that one day, Ian Prue, the CEO of the game, is going to come out and say, hey guys, we appreciate for those of you that have hung on with this game, but we've decided to abandon the project because we're bleeding money and we've got all these investors and we're not going to be able to pay them back. So we might as well pay them back, whatever money we have left, and then try to work on something else in terms of, trying to pay off the rest of the money or whatever it is. I mean, it must be stressful as hell to be in that man's position, if you think about it, really. In terms of the co-founders and stuff like that. And I think ultimately, despite the fact that things, whether you want to talk about the Summer's Game Fest or whether you want to talk about whatever else that might have harmed this game or for it to become unpopular, to receive hate or whatever it is, I personally think that the CEO is probably a fan that really just got super passionate. And, like we described on stream, there might be a chance that this guy maybe blew his load too early. It might have gotten to the point to where, the game might have come out sooner than what it was supposed to come out. I mean, it would have been amazing if this game came out during holiday, but at the same time, there would have been a lot of competition, but there's going to be competition regardless. I mean, there's all sorts of ways differently that this game could have done, but there is a possibility that the CEO might have blown his load too early and made the decision to release when he did. Or who knows, maybe at the same time, it might have been something to where maybe there was pressure to release. I don't know. I'm only on the inside looking in. But whichever way you look at it, when you look at it from a numbers perspective, even if we've got 20,000 players that regularly play this game and every single one of those people bought the battle pass, you're looking basically at, $1.2 million per year of money being paid back to the game. But it would cost like 10 to 20 times more, like let's say 15 times more, just to make the game break even. Because if your average developer is making $70,000, and there's 200 of them, do the math, that's 14 million. And that's not even including marketing and the price to keep the servers up, right? I'm assuming that this is around what those numbers are. And we're, unfortunately, in terms of popularity, as well as whatever's being bought in the store, whatever it is, we're not even close. You know what I mean? But hopefully there's more than enough money in terms of what it's been invested already in order to keep things going and to possibly have this game turn around, from where it currently is at. And that's kind of like the faith that I'm holding out for this game. I would really love to be that, that one person that really stuck around with this game, because I obviously enjoy it, right? And I obviously enjoy making content on it. And you guys obviously are still supporting the channel, which is awesome. But if this game can have a Cinderella-like story to where it managed to actually come back from the hole that it's in and actually got to a point to where it was making money again, or was making money, to the point to where the game can continue to move forward, even though it may not be the most popular game. That's all I want at the end of the day, because arena shooters, and success rates for arena shooters seem to be a very big rarity, if not existent at all. And I would love for this game to be that exception. I would love for this game to be that one game that proved that, hey, you can put something like an arena shooter in the population today, and you can progress and move forward as opposed to dying. I would love to see something like that happen, and quite frankly, that's what I'm hoping for. From a numbers perspective, is it likely? No, but at the same time, is it possible? Yes. Do I know everything and all the details? No, I don't, and I'm thankful I don't, because if I knew what Ian knows, I would probably be stressed as fuck right now. So I kind of respect the fact that the guy, is in the position that he is, and he's doing his best. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there's always that possibility in the back of my mind to where I'm thinking, hey, let's be realistic here. There is a possibility that one day he might go on social media and say that, hey, you know what? We've decided to, put the game down in hopes of heading in a different direction or something like that. I hope that doesn't happen, but that's kind of selfish to hope that that doesn't happen, because if the game continues to go in the direction that it's going right now in terms of a popularity standpoint, which is a downward direction, unfortunately, the game is only going to bleed more and more money, and the co-founders are only going to be deeper in the hole. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So when you look at it from every single perspective, I'm just hoping for the best, because the game is really good, in my opinion, in terms of a gameplay standpoint. And for me, that's what I love about the game, and that's what keeps me coming back. But like, again, I'm one of those rare players. For a lot of people, that's not enough. And when you look at the way gaming is nowadays, to where people want results really quick, they want to be able to, perform really well from a game-to-game basis. This game doesn't do those players that favor. The game doesn't hold anybody by the hand, and I, for one, appreciate that. As someone who grew up knowing and experiencing the fact that games never really needed to hold anybody by the hand, but that's what it is now. It's all about maximizing profits, and if it means lowering the quality of the game and holding players by the hand in order to achieve that, that's what a lot of game companies are willing to go to. And I like the fact that this game doesn't do that, and hopefully it never will, because if it ever does, even if the game were to become popular, but if it took that direction to where it starts holding people by the hand left and right, that's when I would abandon the game. If aim assist got tuned way the hell up, and if EOMM was introduced into the game and stuff like that, my ass is out. My ass is out. Even if the popularity of the game were to go up, my ass is out. So when you look at it from every single standpoint, I have every reason to continue playing the game and to continue making content on it. And yet at the same time, it's always in the back of my mind that it's a possibility that the game could shut down. And that is pretty much it. And I wanted to make a video dedicated to this topic because, again, I'm starting to see people, whether they're the most dedicated or whether even a few pros or whatnot, there's always that discussion had to where it's like, yeah, I'm going to play a different game professionally if this game goes down. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. So when even pros are mentioning it, there's something to be said about that. So with that being said, guys, I want to know in the comment section in terms of where you guys are with this game, and whether or not you have faith and all that kind of stuff, or if there's anything that hasn't been discussed in terms of this particular topic that you think is worthy of discussion. Let it be known down in the comment section below. And hopefully in one of these weekly updates, hopefully we get a little bit more clarity in terms of this particular concern, because I know I am not the only content creator concerned. I know that for a fact. However, I do think I'm one of the very few content creators that only covers this game. So I, for one, would love to have a little bit more clarity on this, and hopefully in due time, we will see how the cookie crumbles. So with that being said, guys, as always, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.